The judiciary, often described as the last hope of the common man, plays a critical role in ensuring justice, protecting citizens' rights and preserving the credibility of the electoral process. This is why a collapsing judiciary jeopardizes the safeguarding of constitutionalism, which is the cornerstone of any democratic society. Tonight, our focus is on the Nigerian judiciary and the future of democracy. Dr. Ope Banwo will be helping us with some insights into the role of the judiciary in the sustenance of democracy in Nigeria. Dr. Banwo is a U.S.-based lawyer, author, and internet business consultant. Good evening to you, Dr. Banwo. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Welcome to Politics Tonight.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Right. So let's start this way. How will you assess Nigeria's democratic journey since 1999?
Well, you mean in the context of the judiciary or just generally?
In the context of judiciary.
Well, I would say actually we've been going backwards because from the way everything has been going in terms of even the quality of decisions, in terms of taking care of our judicial officers, in terms of executive interference in judiciary, in terms of the common man being able to get justice in the courts, in terms of just generally, I think we are much worse off today than we were in when we got into democracy. And I really want to say that with all sense of seriousness as a lawyer myself who practiced in Nigeria for years, and also has been watching what has been going on in Nigeria since. You will say, I saw you said earlier that judiciary is the common is the hope of the common man. That is no longer true in Nigeria. The common man has no hope. Now the question is whether even the high and mighty have hope with the judiciary. That would be my assessment in a very short few sentences.
So, based off of what you just said, the administration of justice in Nigeria, what exactly are the issues and challenges?
Well, they really are many. And for instance, we have delays in trials, executive high-handedness and lawlessness, corruption, insufficient funding, financial dependence of the judiciary on the executive, ethno-religious bias, even in the appointment of justices, and justice compromise, dependence especially on the executive arm of government for justice enforcement. When you have a situation where the judges have to be looking behind them for sustenance, they have to be waiting on the governor to buy them cars, then you know we have a very big problem. So our problems are many, and they all center around, to begin with, lack of independence of the judiciary in real times, in real terms, not just because it's written on a piece of paper that we call the Constitution. So it's a lot of them. The question is, which area do you want to tackle? Is it corruption at the level? Is it the fact that you can file a case in Nigeria and it will take you 7, 8, 9 years before that case is resolved? What common man can survive that? Even the rich are struggling to survive that. Right now, you have the executive more or less muzzling the executive in the, not necessarily overt, the way you see it, but where the judiciary is, they know who butters their bread, because that separation of powers is not clear. So how can they give fair and impartial justice against the government? And where does the common man stand here when it costs so much to get justice in Nigeria? So it's a lot of problems. And the question is, how do we want to begin to tackle this?
So before we get to how to tackle this, in one word, I mean, everything you've said now boils down to the fact that the judiciary has not lived up to expectation. Is that it?
Sorry, I didn't get that last part. To cut off a little bit.
I wanted us to be clear. Has the Nigerian judiciary lived up to expectations?
No, they've not lived up to my expectation. I'll be lying, and I'll be more or less trying to cover up my profession if I say they've lived up to my expectation. No, they have not. But also remember, they are also dealing with several problems that is even beyond them. Why should a case take 2-3 years to resolve? That is a judiciary problem. Why should we have judges who are earning equivalent of $400 a month, and you expect them not to be corrupt. That's where we are. What the judges earn equivalent in 2007, a lot of people may not know this, but the last time we reviewed the salary of our judges is 2007, 16, 17 years ago. At that time, in exchange terms, their salary was equivalent of $5,000 plus. Today, the average salary of a judge is about $441 a month. I don't even pay that to my paralegal. My paralegal earns more than that in a week. And I'm not saying this to be boastful. There are many lawyers, law firms who pay 3 times that a week to their paralegal, 4 times even. And yet, we're expecting these people to hold guys who stole 90 billion, 100 billion to account. We are not yet serious. The issue of revising the emoluments to the judges should be paramount and should be number 1. You cannot be independent when you can't feed your family. There are some judges that are earning magistrates, from what I heard, 200,000 naira a month. What are you going to do with that? And then you take somebody into that court who has just defrauded somebody of equivalent of $5 million or $1 million. Don't you think, yes, I know there are some judges that will stay the course, that will still be upright, but if that person puts $100,000 into their account, that's their salary for the next 50 years. It takes a superhuman person to say justice is blind. Let us be frank here. And that's what we are dealing with. You have judges who make, again, I'll repeat that, who make less than $500 a month. You are asking them to hold a criminal who are just stolen $10 billion or $1 billion to account. You do the math. See, they don't necessarily need to be rich. But if they are comfortable enough where they drive a fairly decent car, they can pay for a fairly decent apartment, they can send their children to decent schools, then maybe the best of them can remain strong in the face of temptation. But if you are a judge, you are not even sure you are going to pay your rent. Your children are not able to go to private school because of the kind of salary they pay you. And then temptations come. We will be unfair to say, oh, they must stay true. I'm not saying they shouldn't. We expect them to. But you're asking them to be superhuman. And that's what our judges are dealing with. Have you been to some of the courtrooms where files are piled upon each other? I even wonder, how do they even get justice done? Especially magistrate courts. You see them on TV. You have piles upon piles piled right in the courtroom. Even the security of the files are not certain, because those courtrooms are not safe. And that is the environment we want our judges to operate. So when I say they have not lived up to expectation, it is not an indictment on them. It's an indictment on the whole system. You can't expect good performance from people who are living and operating under abject conditions. That's the only way I can put it. I mean, when you have a judge of a high court. Yes, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, it's interesting we're having this conversation at a time the president, I mean, this is basically about salaries. At the time the president has sent a bill seeking to amend the salaries of judicial officers to the House of Representatives for consideration. So we're waiting for that. But let's put this conversation into proper perspective. What are the major elements that sustains the judicial system of any nation, and by extension, the administration of justice of a country?
I didn't get that first part. I'm sorry. It's cutting off.
Did you get my question? Okay, so I want us to put this conversation right. I want us to put this conversation into proper perspective. And I'm asking, what are the major elements that sustains the judicial system of any nation, and by extension, the administration of justice of a country?
Number 1, like we've said, and everybody knows that, is independence of the judiciary. But we pay lip service to that in our country. A judiciary that does not control the welfare of its own staff is not independent. A judiciary that cannot be sure that when it gives orders, it is going to be obeyed is not independent. A judiciary that have people who are being asked to sacrifice their day in, day out, but who are not guaranteed basic living conditions is not independent. So that's number 1. Our judiciary has to be independent. Number 2, we have to pass enabling laws to allow them to be able to do this justice. Well, the executive have to be ready to execute court orders. Unfortunately, our executives are the first to ignore court orders. You saw what happened in Kogi State. Now, people will blame the judicial system for the failure to prosecute that former governor out there. But really, it's an executive problem because the judges are not going to come down from their courts and go drag somebody for prosecution. So, to get independence, the executive has to understand that their job is to execute. Their job is not to prevent the judiciary from doing their job. Number 3, respect for rule of law, even in the judiciary itself. Yes, there's a lot of external factors that has made judiciary not to be independent, but there's also a lot of internal factors where we are not policing ourselves enough. The judiciary is not hard enough of the lawyers who practice before them, because we see a lot of abuse of the judicial process. Somebody gets a court order to go and prosecute. They go and shop for another place to get another judge to stay the order. And they get another judge to stay the order that stayed the order. It's a ridicule. It's a self-ridicule by the judiciary. And I expect them to begin to stand down on that. They don't need anybody to come and regulate them to do that. So even the judiciary is willingly ceding its own independence with its own action. So for me, and you know, everybody knows that, the judiciary is supposed to be, like we said, the last hope of the common man. It's supposed to be the last hope of the person in Ikoyi, as well as the last hope of the person in Fadei. It's supposed to be for everybody. But we are not allowing them to do that. Our structure, the way we are practicing it, even though it's very clear in our constitution, but in practice, it is far from it. And it's a shame.
So you've mentioned about 4 elements here, but I would like us to stay on the independence of judiciary. So when it comes to administration of justice, how important or crucial is a competent, impartial, independent judiciary in preserving and upholding the rule of law? Talk to us about this.
Unless we keep repeating the same thing, for them to be impartial, they have to be free from the executive action. But most of the stuff in the judiciary now is dependent on the executive. Can they even power themselves? Can they put light in their own courtrooms without somebody in the executive playing part? You see a judge on TV crowing and celebrating, I just bought cars for all the judges in my state. Why should a governor be the one buying cars for judges? There is no separation. And that separation is where the independence will come from. We can go around it in 10 different ways. The only way we are going to guarantee independence of the judiciary is for it to be independent in true terms, and for elevation of people to the bench to be devoid of political considerations. I don't want to go into piecing into my own house where I make my living. I may not be practicing in Nigeria, but I owe an obligation to the legal system and to the judiciary, because those are my judges, those are my friends, those are people that, so I don't want to talk so much that will bring them into ridicule here. But we have some judges that were appointed to the bench that you are going to ask yourself, who made the decision? How did this person become a judge in this country when there are so many brilliant souls out there? It's a slippery terrain. I don't want to go in there, but we all know what's going on. Some judges don't know their left from their right, with all due respect. That's why the fact that we have some great judges. I mean, I read some judgments and I wow. So for me, it's a holistic approach here. We need to review their condition of service, obviously. We need to review how we make people judges. It shouldn't be by quota. I don't believe in that. Even in quota, every state we have some great people that can be judges. And if they don't, leave them out. Why must we have a judge from every state at the federal level? Why? Why, if there are more qualified, more brilliant lawyers in Oyo State, why shouldn't we have more judges from Oyo State than from, I don't want to mention any state in other states before they say, why did I mention their state? But that's what is going on. You have some great judges that are stranded as high court judges because they are crowded in their state. They can't rise to Court of Appeal or Supreme Court because there's only one quota for their state. Meanwhile, you have barely qualified judges in some of these other states that are being elevated to Supreme Court. You're not going to have a mediocre Supreme Court eventually. So we have to look at all of that. Is it that it's either we want very, very cerebral judges who can dispense justice, or we want a quota system? Sometimes we cannot have both, and that is already happening. And you know some of those names I'm talking about. I'm not going to mention their names.
All right.
So somebody who didn't excel in high court, all of a sudden you see them promoting him to court of appeal because it's the turn, because it's an emilocon for their state. It's ridiculous.
So, Dr. Banwo, I mean, my next question is based on some of the reactions we got from the 2023 elections. So, I mean, based on the attacks some judges faced in the discharge of their duties. In your years of experience, do you think public opinion really affects justice delivery? I'm asking this question based on several occasions we've heard Chief Justices of Nigeria, Tanko Mohammed, Walter Onaihan, and others tell judges not to mind the noise and disperse justice without fear. Do you think public opinion really affects justice delivery?
On that one, I think I have to give the judiciary a pass mark. I don't think public opinion affects their decision. If it does, they will have declared Peter Obi the president, or they will have declared a popular candidate. I don't see them doing that. And by the way, I agree with their decisions, especially a lot of those political decisions. They're actually sound. Sometimes it is what you prove in court. The court is not the Father Christmas. And I want to say this for members of the public who get so hard on our justices, who they believe, because they don't like their decision, they believe that they have been compromised. I don't think, for instance, Supreme Court is compromised. I don't think so. Because when most of their judgments that I've read, they have been based on sound principles of law, even though majority in the world, in Nigeria, do not like it because they don't follow. When you go to court and you say, for instance, they've stolen your votes, the responsibility is on you to prove how many votes were stolen. Where was it stolen? But in many of our political cases, those who go to court, they cannot prove that, even though they might have appeared to the public that they won the election. But the judges, thank God for that, I don't knock them for all those, but they look at what you proved. And you don't win. So for me, I have to give them credit for that, at least for most of the high-profile cases. I don't think they are giving decisions based on public opinion. They are basically giving decisions in spite of public opinion. And that's where it's supposed to be. The judges are not supposed to be looking at sentiment because everybody is shouting this. No, what did you prove in court? Even one of the most uncelebrated cases of Uzodinma, for instance. If any people knock the judiciary for that, they say, oh, they were compromised. They make number 4 to now come and be the winner. Right. But read the judgment. What did they prove in court? The people came to court. What did they prove before the Supreme Court?
All right,
if they don't prove it, Supreme Court can't give them.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for your perspective on that. Now, before we go tonight, I understand you're presently running an empowerment program. I'd like you to talk to us about that initiative and its impact.
All right, awesome. I thank you so much for that question. It's what I'm in Nigeria for. It's what has consumed me for a while now. And it's my Fish for Life program, which is a project that I feel the government should be doing, because in Nigeria today, whether any way we calculate it, we have 50 million plus unemployed or underemployed Nigerians. And I feel that when you have a mass unemployment situation, you need a mass employment solution. You cannot solve a 50 million unemployed situation by equipping 500 tailors today, equipping 200 security men tomorrow. You need a solution that is mass-oriented, that can be taken in the hundreds of thousands of millions. And I thought digital skills empowerment is one of those mass solutions to mass unemployment that we have in Nigeria. The other might be agriculture, but I can't speak to agric. I'm not a farmer. But I see that in this 2024, what the world needs right now is not even so much new tech people, but people can use the technology that is there to go and provide goods and services to the world. And we have a very big population of educated youths. Some of them, most of them graduates. Some of them at least finish high school, where they can learn in literally one day, 4 hours, how to take an AI tool or a tech tool that they didn't create and use it to provide goods and services to the world. Because in Nigeria right now, our market is shrinking. We have over 200 manufacturing companies closing down every year. But we introduced 600,000 new graduates into the economy. There is nothing President Bola Tinubu can do about this. He can only try. Our market is shrinking. The labor force is increasing. Nobody needs to tell us that we need to look outwards by creating masses of people in the hundreds of thousands, millions of them, who can provide services to the outside world and earn dollars and become self-employed in a very affordable, in a very fast way, and I don't see any other option than digital skills empowerment. That's why I started the Fish for Life program, because what our governments do right now, they do palliatives, they give handouts. That is a fish for a day project. When they finish that money or they finish that bag of rice, they are still where they are. But if you teach them how to become self-employed using basic AI tools or technological tools that they can learn in 5 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 1 day, and then use it to start earning dollars abroad, you can free millions of our youths in a very, very quick way. I call it this way, and people drag me for it. That what we need in 2024 in Nigeria are the Uber drivers of the AI revolution.
All right, Dr. Banwo, quickly, how can Nigerian youths benefit from this?
Sorry, ma'am.
How can Nigerian youths benefit from this?
Yes, the Fish for Life program is a free service I'm doing now there. They can go to fishforlife.ng and register for free. Right now, we are running a cohort for about 1,500 people that I'm training for free. That cohort is essentially closed because we have to take them through a 12-week course where we teach them the skills, we show them how to market it, and then we take them to internship like a youth service where my foundation gives them paid money like NYSC, little money for them to do internship for 3 months so that they can be good at it. It's something we expect to be running every 6 months, so to speak. It's called fishforlife.ng. They can go there and learn more about it. But for me as an individual, I can only train so much. So far, we've done 3,000 in the last 2 months.
But do you intend to partner with governments? Do you intend to partner with governments on this? I mean, to reach a wider audience, either federal or state governments?
Yes, I have tried, and I'm glad for this forum to be able to say this is not about me. They don't even need to partner with me. If our government, our state government, federal government, all have a digital empowerment programs for their youths, it costs less. You don't even need to buy them laptop. They all have phones that they can use. It is very affordable. So my call out is that every state government, even the federal government, they should have a digital skills empowerment initiative, like a Fish for Life program that they do for their states.
All right. All right, then. Thank you so much, Dr. Banwo. And I must thank you for contributing your quota to the development of this great country. And we wish you the very best. Thank you so much for joining us on Politics Tonight. Dr. Ope Banwo, US-based lawyer, author, entrepreneur, internet business consultant. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you for having me. God bless you.